And we are live. Welcome to Olivia's Stories, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, sometimes they say, when life gives you lemons, you better make it a lemonade out of it. What I went through were truly lemons, and guess what I did? I made a very sweet and juicy lemonade. You can never fool a person once and think you can fool them the second time. Yes, I was a fool once, but that made me realize some things and I became wiser. My wife made me the biggest fool in the world, and she made sure that she almost ruined my life, because hers was already ruined. I mean, how can you cheat and get a disease? And when you get that disease, you infect someone else that you claim to love. I just don't understand this thing called love. Sometimes I feel like it's a scam to make people believe that there is something called love, even though there isn't. If there is someone who once went through what I had gone through, please let me know how you dealt with it. Allow me to let you know what happened. So my wife Amina, female 34, and I, male 35, met at a friend's party. One of my friends was celebrating their 30th birthday during summer holidays. At that time, I was going under a lot of stress because my mother was sick and things were not looking good with her condition. So Mike's friend, male 35, party was going or was supposed to be a good distraction for me. And it really helped me get destroyed, so there was this lady who was introduced as Amina, and she was a friend of Mike's wife. She looked lonely also. I'm saying that because I had seen that she was not concentrating a lot on whatever the other ladies were engaging in. She looked deep in her thoughts, or rather disturbed. She was so beautiful, her beautiful melanin skin suited her very well, and she was an African American. I found that out later. You know, she took my attention and heart that night. I was scared to approach her and ask what she was thinking about, so I resorted to just stare at her and admire her natural beauty from afar. Her beauty was hypnotizing, not knowing that I was charmed and taken by my almost early grave. But we would never know until it is said and done, right? I was hesitant to approach her, so I just decided to continue admiring her from afar. But the way she was out of her own mind worried me. It was like she was going through something big. The time went on, and I saw her standing up and going to the kitchen. I then took it upon myself that I was not going to miss that opportunity to speak to her, so I excused myself from the gents and rushed to where she was because Mike's wife beat me to it. When I got there, she was not looking fine at all. I saw her sobbing so bad she even had hiccups, so I got her a glass of water with sugar. I had heard that it helped with normalizing the nervous system and helped to calm the person down. I called Mike's wife to take her to the bedroom where she can rest. I was really worried about her and wondered what had happened to her to break down like that to a stranger. The party ended later and I went home. My mind took me back to my own miserable life. I thought of my mother's health condition and everything that was not going well in my life until I found myself thinking about Amina and her beauty. She had really taken my fragile but cold heart. I saw that her soul was crying for help. She needed a knight in shining armor, and I was already willing to be one to her. The next morning, I drove to Mike's house and made an excuse that I wanted to check on him and how they were after the previous night. Mike laughed at me and told me that the lady was fine, and she had gone back to her apartment. That was how I got that she was living in the apartment, and I had thought that whatever she was going through was either a family or boyfriend's problem. But I didn't ask anything further, so I went straight to the hospital to check on my mother. Amina was on my mind throughout the whole journey to the hospital. The way she was on my mind, I even told my mother to pull through because I had found her a daughter-in-law who would take care of her. I really don't know why I said that because I never even shared one word with the lady. Mind you, I didn't even know where she was staying, but my heart was beating drums whenever I was thinking of her. Was I already in love? I mean, her beauty has already taken me away, so maybe I would say it was love at first sight. A week later, I went to this cafe, name withheld, to have a meeting with an investor of the IT company I had started, but I didn't have much capital to launch it, so I needed an investor to help me boost it and get more clients. So when I got into the cafe, she was the one who came to the table that I was sitting on. I didn't see her at first when she approached the table because I was busy going through my proposal. She greeted and welcomed me, then asked if I would love to order anything or a drink. Obviously, I had to look up to the person who was speaking to me, and to my surprise, it was the sweet melanin beauty. I was surprised to see her working as a waitress at the cafe I was in. Small world, hey. Her beauty was something else, and her voice was as sweet as her melanin skin. She had that beautiful and charming smile on her face. I found myself staring at her for a few seconds until she brought me back to earth. So I ordered water and told her that I was waiting for a client so I wouldn't be ordering anything until he arrived. A few minutes later, the client arrived and I called her again and ordered. The real reason why I had ordered water at first was because I wanted her to keep coming back to my table so I could admire her beauty without any tears on her face. Her welcoming and innocent smile made me want her more. I was taken, you know. Call me weak. I don't care as long as she was the one who made me weak anyway. But being weak to me, it took me straight to hell and back. After the meeting I had, I decided to stay a little longer, hoping that maybe I would get a chance to speak to her. I requested her service again, but that time I didn't really want to order, but to at least get her name from her. I had already got it, but I felt like I wanted to get it from her. So when she got to my table, she asked if I had wanted to order. Silly me. I just asked if I knew her from somewhere because she looked familiar. Stupid and dumb, right? But what would I have said because my heart was busy drumming outside my chest? Words ran out of my mouth. Luckily, she confirmed that I had seen her the previous week at Mike's birthday party that was hosted at his house. I was whipped by someone who was not even my girlfriend. So I asked if she was feeling better after what she had gone through. I tried to converse with her, but I knew that my questions and conversations were lame and boring. When she told me that she had to get back to work, I then found courage to ask for her numbers. She was a bit resistant at first, but I begged her and told her that I just wanted to check if she was fine and be a friend she would be able to speak or vent to whenever she felt under the weather. So she gave me her number when she was bringing my bill. My heart was at ease. I was happy that the first step I had taken was successful. I spent 4 full days contemplating on whether to call her or text her. My palms were sweating whenever I would stare at her numbers. I was nervous. All of a sudden, I didn't know what to say to her. Words were failing me. I was a coward, right? She made me nervous and it shook me because I was not the person who would suddenly lose words. Yes, I once had a fiancé, well, a high school sweetheart. I loved her, you know, and she betrayed me in the most painful way. She got involved, or let me say she got into a relationship with my brother-in-law and messed up my sister's relationship to a point that my sister was extremely hurt and took her own life. Ever since then, I stopped using and practicing the word love because it took away my sister and my mother became miserable, which led to her health being in jeopardy. A week later, I went to the cafe again, hoping to see her so I would explain why I never called or texted her. Unfortunately, she was off duty that day, so I had to call her to check how she was. Later that day, I decided to put my nervousness and fears aside and called her. She answered her phone. I tried talking to her, but she told me that she was going to speak with me later. She sounded a bit off, like she was afraid of something because she was whispering. Some of the words she had said, I couldn't hear them clearly, and when I asked if she was okay, she dropped her phone. That got me worried about her. My conscience kept telling me that she was going through something and she was scared to speak. My mind just rushed to another dimension. There was only one thing that would make a person speak like that, and it is when a person is in trouble or threatened. Worst part, I didn't even know her apartment address, meaning if I wanted to help her. I had to call Mike and ask for Amina's address from his wife, which was not going to be easy, so I had to explain myself first, which was something I didn't want. I ended up calling Mike and asked him for the address to avoid 21 questions from his wife. He also refused to help, and my hope of helping her went down the drain just like that. I tried tracking her phone using her number, but it was off and nothing was showing. I was really worried about her well-being and her safety. I got scared of losing her because women were murdered each and every day in this world, so my thoughts were running too wild. Another week passed, and I received a call from Amina. It was surprising because she had been quiet since the first and last call I had made to her, and Mike's wife didn't get back to me when she went to check on her. I was relieved when I got her call. She assured me that she was fine. I was not convinced though, so I asked to see her to ensure that she was really okay. Luckily, she agreed and set a date to see her. The day that she had set came. We were going to meet at a nearby restaurant. Her beauty was the first thing that I saw when she appeared. I couldn't get enough of her beauty. God really took his own precious time when he was creating her. Another thing that I had noticed about her was that she was a very calm person. She was not those loud and forward girls that stay in Chicago. I loved her calm personality. It brought that kind of peace that every man needs, you know. Since the day of our mini date, we got along very well. Another thing, she was not afraid to tell you the truth as it was. no matter how it would get to you. I appreciated a truthful person because it was rare to find them at fault or having secrets. Little did I know that I had gotten myself involved with the biggest liar of them all. She was what we call a dangerous, conniving snake that hides itself under a sheep's skin. If I knew better, I would run for my life before everything even took place. I was happy that she had loosened up and allowed me to be there for her in every way. Even though we were not in a relationship, but everything has a start, right? So I was willing to take everything slow and follow her pace. I didn't want to pressure her, even though the feelings that I had were getting stronger every time we spent together or talked on the phone. She didn't tell me what had occurred when I first called her. She just told me that she was going through girl stuff and dismissed it just like that. I didn't want to look so prying, so I also changed the topic and we talked about something else. Time passed and our friendship was getting closer each day. She had loosened enough to let me in on what was going on in her life. She once told me that she had an abusive partner, so the time I had called, he was with her, so she was not comfortable to speak to the phone because her fiancé was going to ask who she was speaking to. And if he found out that she was speaking to a man, he was going to flip and beat her up. When she told me that, I got angry because she should have at least made signals so I would hear that she was in danger, or she should have just sent me a text saying she needed help, but she didn't. Instead, she stayed there and waited for her abusive animal to decide what to do with her. What surprised me was the fact that I found out she was still with him, which was why she didn't want us to be in a relationship. I don't understand women sometimes. Would you rather stay in a relationship where you are turned into a punching bag and not accept the person who was willing to show you real love? When I asked why she was not leaving the guy, she told me that she loved him, and they had been through a lot together, so she couldn't just break things off with him. I knew that. That was just an excuse. And it was a very lame excuse, if you ask me, because I had lived with an abusive person. My late father was abusive towards my mother. When my mother tried to break things off with him, my father got livid and told her that they were never going to break up, and they were bound to be together until they die. Luckily, and by God's grace, a week later we were told that my father was involved in a fight. He was drunk, so he started a fight with the wrong crowd, and he got stabbed. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. He passed on his way to the hospital. That was the day my mother got her freedom back and she became herself again. And that was the day we experienced our mother's love, because she was always doing everything right to please my abusive father, to a point that she even forgot to think of her children and love them first before a man that was abusive-y. So I knew how abusive people act and think. I vowed to myself that whenever I get into a relationship, I would treat women with respect and show them true love. But where did that take me? I got cheated on. And the worst part was with my sister's man, the person who was supposed to show my sister love. But he disrespected her in a most cruel way. Some men are sickos and they don't deserve great women. I hated and still hate my ex-fiancé and my ex-brother-in-law because their affair didn't only destroy relationships, but it also took my sister's life. My sister loved her man so much to a point that she would defend him when people were giving her warnings about her fiancé, and when she found out that what people were saying was true. She couldn't accept and handle it, but she drowned into depression up until she decided to take her own life. I was also hurt by my ex-fiancé's and brother-in-law's affair, but I had to be a man and take charge of my home and my mother's well-being. Mother couldn't take the passing of my sister well, to a point that she started getting sick. I explained all my experiences with Amina. I knew that she was not going to leave her fiancé because her life was threatened, but I did it to think about it and make the right decision. To God be the glory, she actually listened to me and dumped her fiancé, even though it was not easy, but what she did made me proud of her. Not because I wanted to get into a relationship with her, but because she was able to put herself first before a man. So she went to the police department and filed for a restraining order against the guy. 9 months later, our friendship was going strong. She was also living her life freely. She no longer feared that her ex-fiancé would appear everywhere she was going. She no longer had fear of the unknown. And another thing, she unleashed her true self. Yes, she was still a calm and peaceful person, but she enjoyed her life on the outside. She loved going out on adventures, exploring historical attractions. I also learned that she loved history. She was a very curious person and would always ask the history of everything she came across. She told me that she had a dream of being a historian or a time traveler because she was so in love with anything that had to do with history. So I offered to take her to college so she can get more knowledge in history and achieve her dream to become a historian. The only thing I wanted her to experience was pure and genuine love. I wanted her to be free and not think that every man wants to control her like how her fiancé did. She was somehow reluctant to take my offer, but I assured her that she had nothing to lose, and she should let go of what her ex had done. As much as it was not going to be easy, she had to beg herself to be better and move on. I just couldn't believe how Mike and his wife would not help Amina when they knew that she was being abused. I was really disappointed at Mike for real. I had thought he was a man, but clearly he was not. So I broke off our friendship. I couldn't continue being friends with someone who vouched and tolerated women abuse. That was not the kind of friendship I wanted to be in. Anyway, a year ended with me and Amina being friends. She had accepted my offer, and I was happy that she had taken the right decision. So the following year she got enrolled in college, and I was paying, obviously. As long as she was chasing her dream, I was happy. Few months passed, the love relationship was formed, and one thing I remember is that it was her birthday, so I had made a surprise dinner for her. Well, she had moved in with me the day she was a free girl. Her and my mother got along very well. Mother would say that she reminded her of Stacy, my sister. So she moved in with me because her abusive criminal was the one who owned the apartment she was living in. That time she had a class in college, so she was not home, which gave me enough time to prepare for her surprise birthday dinner. It was going to be just the three of us, which was my mother, her, and I. Mother would always ask why I was not in a relationship with Amina because she loved her for me. I then decided that on that day I was going to confess my feelings for her. So when she came back later, we had a very nice, intimate dinner, and Mother excused herself, which gave me a chance to tell her how I felt. My palms were sweating. I kept rubbing them, praying that she would not reject my proposal. So I managed to put on my big boy shoes and brave face, then I told her how I felt. She went mute for a moment. Mind you, that time my knees were shaking. My mind was regretting my actions, while my heart was relieved that I had taken out one thing that was weighing on me for the whole year. So when she came back to her senses, she told me that she was not expecting my confession, so I took her by surprise. I already knew that, but I needed just one answer, and that answer was if she was agreeing to be my girlfriend or not. One thing about me that people do not know is that I am a very impatient man when I have to, and what Amina was doing was adding to my impatience. So I decided to give her time to think things through, even though my heart needed an immediate answer, but I couldn't rush her. You know. The following day, when I was preparing for work, she came to me and told me that she was accepting my proposal. Mind you, my mind had already thought and accepted that she had rejected me. She also confessed that she felt the same way as I was, and it had been a while since she felt the way she felt, but she couldn't tell me because she thought maybe I was taking her as her sister since she had moved in with me and my mother. From then, our relationship was formed and my heart was at ease. I respected my consciousness because it kept telling me that as much as I loved the girl, I should not put all my nails to it and leave a space for disappointment because we would never know how tomorrow may be and what it may bring. But I didn't listen to it and went ahead with giving all my heart and soul to the relationship only for it to almost ruin me. I had no doubts about confessing my love to her. I was free, you know. I became free and forgot to leave the space for disappointments. You know, when a relationship is still at the beginning phase, some call it a honeymoon phase, it is hard to take any advice or listen to your consciousness because you would be head over heels in the new formed relationship and nothing else mattered. Not knowing that I was actually digging my own shallow grave. A year into our relationship, I decided to take things on another level. I mean, I love this lady. She brought the best out of me, and she became my best friend and my pillar. Well, I won't say she was my strength because my mother was there for that. I was ready to build my life with her and to make an honest person out of her. I wanted her to grow my family name, you know, and bear me children that would continue with the empire I had started building. My IT company was going well. Everything was running and going smoothly. I was pretty proud of myself and the achievement I had made. I even managed to take my mother out of Chicago, and we moved to North Carolina to have a fresh start and live in a peaceful neighborhood. We were a happy family of 3 people. Well, I do not know any relatives or extended family because my mother never mentions them when she talks, or even when I ask. She would always dismiss the topic and move on to another one. We tried getting it out of her, but she was not giving in. so we also gave up because it was clear that she wanted nothing to do with them. We had to respect her decisions. Surely something big had happened between her and her family, so maybe if we pushed hard, she would have ended up getting angry, and that is not what I wanted, to see my mother angry or sad. I always want to see her happy, peaceful, and smiling. Her happiness was my priority, so I would always make sure to avoid doing or saying something that would ruin her happy and peaceful moments. Anyway, I proposed to Amina, and obviously she said yes. We had decided to start planning for our wedding in 9 months because she was busy at school, traveling and visiting historical sites. I respected her decision even though I wanted to marry her the same day I had proposed to her. I mean, she didn't have any family members. She once told me that her extended family had disowned her after her grandmother had passed on, and she didn't know her parents. She never heard anything about them. 9 months passed and she was available to start with the wedding preparations. She came with the decision that our wedding would take place in 6 months because she didn't need any pressure of planning. She needed all the time so she could get everything she needed. I tried complaining about that, but my mother told me that every woman wants perfection when planning their big day, so I had to be patient and follow her lead, so I obliged. During the planning of the wedding, she was going out a lot. Apparently, she had got friends at the college, so they were helping her in planning. The only thing I had contributed in the planning was capital. It was her and her newly found friends that I didn't even know about or know their name. My conscience kept telling me that something was smelling fishy and I had to pay attention to everything. My IT mind took control, and I started bugging her phone because she was also acting strange. When I talked to my mother about it, she told me that it may be the wedding nerves because a month had already passed of Amina planning the wedding. I didn't understand why she didn't want us to hire a planner because it's every woman's dream to get a planner for their wedding. Or am I wrong? She was too obsessed with the wedding planning, or maybe that was what I thought. So I was busy tracking her phone's coordinates. I found out that she was spending a lot of time in one hotel in South Carolina. I got confused on what she was doing in South Carolina because there were boutiques and everything she needed here in North Carolina. That raised an eyebrow because she was no longer traveling to those historical sites that she was visiting to study. So one day she came back from the same hotel, because that was what my computer was telling me. I asked where she was coming from. She told me that she was looking for a wedding dress, so she went to South Carolina because she didn't get the dress she liked around here. I didn't understand and believe her explanation because there was no dress that was being sold in a hotel in South Carolina. My suspicions grew more. My consciousness was telling me that she was cheating, and I had to find out who she was cheating with instead of planning for our wedding. A piece of me wanted to call off the whole thing and let her go. So 4 months before our wedding, she started coming back to being the Amina I fell in love with. We would spend most of our free time together, going through how we wanted our wedding to be like. We were in love again. Well, that was what I had thought, but nope, the girl had an agenda. So one night I came back from work later than usual, so I couldn't join her and my mother for dinner. When I got to our bedroom, she was wearing very sexy lingerie. I got tempted in an instant. As much as I was tired, I couldn't resist her beautiful melanin body. One thing about Amina, she was really gifted when it came to the body. She had the most perfect body, and I loved every part of it. So we did the things that engaged people do, and it was really amazing as always. But that night she went extra, and I enjoyed every moment of it. A week later, I started getting sick. I started seeing a discharge and itchiness in my private part that I didn't even know where it came from. I had pains around my pelvis. I also started going to the bathroom more frequently. That was really unusual to me because I had never experienced something like that before, and it really worried me because I didn't know what was going on. I had thought I had a deadly disease, so I told my mother what I was going through. And another thing, I felt like less of a man because I couldn't even satisfy my fiancé anymore. And that led her back to her constant going out. My mother told me that what I was experiencing were symptoms of STI. I couldn't believe her. She then told me to visit the doctor for a checkup just to be sure that it was not an STI. So I took a leave of absence at work and went to the doctor because I was really worried and was scared to lose Amina. What was happening to me was really scary, and the only thing that was ringing in my head was cancer or a very serious and deadly condition. So when I got to the doctor, he confirmed my mother's suspicions. Indeed, I had an STI, and the doctor requested that I bring my partner along to make sure that she was not infected. I was so confused by what the doctor said when he said he wanted to check if my partner was not infected. So in my mind, it came like the doctor suspected that I was cheating, and had possibilities that I had infected my partner, which made me think that maybe I had gotten it from Amina. I mean, she was constantly going to a hotel in South Carolina, claiming that she was looking for a wedding dress at the same hotel. I got angry because the last time we had been intimate was when she surprised me with lingerie, but where did she get it from? So I waited for her to get back from whoever she was coming from. That day, I didn't even bother checking her cell phone coordinates because I was going through my own thing. My mother kept telling me to calm down and talk to Amina in a calm manner, but I was too livid for any normal conversation. So when she came back, I asked her to go with me to the doctor. She started by throwing tantrums when I suggested that and asked if I didn't trust her. Her outburst confused me and made me angrier because it showed that she knew something. So I asked her politely about her whereabouts and told her not to think of lying to me. Then she told me the most shocking thing ever. She revealed that she had gotten back with her abusive ex-fiancé, and she had been spending most of her time in a hotel in South Carolina with him. She started apologizing about that and told me that she was scared to tell me that she had an STI, so she slept with me that day because she wanted to put a blame on me and make me look like I was the cheater. I couldn't believe my ears. I had thought maybe I had heard wrong, but no, the bitch had the nerve to tell me that. I couldn't control myself. I found myself straggling her on our bed until my mother burst into our bedroom and begged me to stop. I saw the trauma on my mother's face and Amina's since they were survivors of abusive relationships. Well, Amina had gone back to her abuser, so I won't count her. She was the dumbest woman I had ever met. So I decided to just leave the house and went to the hotel and hacked their CCTV system to check the room that Amina was spending time in with her criminal and to see what was happening. When I got it, I watched the videos of them getting all kinky on each other. My blood boiled, so I created fake accounts on social media and posted the videos online. I was hurt, angry, disappointed, and impetuous. I wanted to destroy her life just like how she did with mine. She was selfish to infect me with her infection, and she thought I was not going to find out. The videos started trending and I broke things off with her. My mother was really hurt because she had taken her as a daughter, but she disappointed her. I told her to leave, and I was glad that she was earning her own money, so there was nothing that was going to connect me with her anymore. I hated her, and I still do. What she did was the most cruel thing a person could do to another person. She kept apologizing, but I was not going to forgive her. I got help and treated the infection. Luckily, it had not spread it or got serious, so I followed all the doctor's instructions and vowed to myself that I would never get involved with a woman. Not after what I had been through. After the videos trended, I heard that the criminal abuser was actually a wanted suspect, so somehow the videos I linked helped the police department to catch him. It was difficult having to end things with the person I loved and shared my all with, but I had to think of myself first, and I couldn't leave my mother alone. I am too young to die. Guys, do you think I handled things better or I was a bit harsh for putting my ex-fiancé's dirty laundry for the world to see? Please advise me.
My name is Karen. I am 26 years old and have been in a relationship with Adam, the love of my life. Adam was 1 year elder to me, and we met during college. But today, I am not here to talk about my love story. Today, I am going to be sharing something that I did, which was very unlike me. I was out with my friends for my bachelorette party, which was going all fine till I got carried. I am now in a dilemma if I should come clean with Adam about it or just bury it forever and take it to my grave. It's going to be one hell of a long post, so buckle up for a wild ride. Adam and I had been together right from the first day of college. We were in the same classes and quickly became close friends. Our friendship grew stronger as we navigated through the challenges of our coursework together, supporting and motivating each other along the way. I was coming from an all-girls school, and Adam was my first interaction with a guy outside of my family. Adam's presence in my life brought a refreshing change, allowing me to see the world from a different perspective. His easygoing nature and sense of humor made our friendship feel effortless, and I soon realized that he was becoming more than just a friend to me. I wondered if he thought the same about me. As time went on, I started to notice subtle signs that made me question if Adam felt the same way. The way he would look at me, the inside jokes we shared, and the increasing amount of time we spent together all seemed to suggest that there might be something more between us than just friendship. However, I couldn't help but feel hesitant to bring up my feelings to him, fearing that it could potentially jeopardize our friendship. It was almost time for us to leave college. We would be graduating soon, but there was no sign of any progress in my relationship with Adam. Maybe like me, even he did not want to ruin our friendship, and that was the reason why he was hesitant to ask me out. Despite our strong connection and the countless hours we spent together, the romantic tension between us remained unspoken. I couldn't help but wonder if taking a leap of faith and expressing my feelings would bring us closer, or risk losing everything we had built. Adam's parents had organized a graduation party at home for us. It was surreal that it had already been 3 years and we were going to be graduates. I got dressed and left for the party. The vibe of the decorations and everything else felt different to the theme of the graduation. I was asked to wait in the backyard for a while as Adam was getting ready. Well, that is weird. I have seen him even in his comfy t-shirts during our combined studies at home. I started walking along his backyard and noticed a few things hanging to the tree. I walked to the tree and started seeing what it was. There were pictures of me and Adam hung on the tree, capturing our memories throughout our years of friendship. It was a heartwarming surprise, and I couldn't help but smile as I reminisced about the countless moments we had shared together. Was this a sign that Adam was going to make a move tonight? I was really overwhelmed with emotions, and I knew that if at this moment Adam would come up to me and ask me out, I would have said yes with tears in my eyes. Adam's mom came back and asked me to get in. I went into the living room, which was dark and only lit with very few candles. It was difficult for me to navigate the way. I hit my leg as I started to walk forward, so I just stood still, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. It was still too dark to take a step. I then heard Adam from a distance directing me to make sure where to put my step without banging into other things. I finally reached the place where I could see a little. The lights went on as I reached there, and there was Adam on his knees with a ring in his hand. I was overwhelmed with surprise and joy as I realized that Adam was proposing to me. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I said yes and hugged him tightly. My heart raced with excitement as I eagerly accepted his heartfelt gesture, knowing that this moment would forever be etched in our memories. Adam told me that he would always be there for me, helping me find my way just like he did when I am surrounded by darkness. It was so sweet and profound that I can't even imagine having a more perfect proposal than this. We decided to get married after a year, since Adam knew the amount of obsession I had with having the perfect wedding. It's not my fault that I grew up in an all-girls school and fantasized about movies like 27 Dresses and Bride Wars. I felt like 1 year would be enough for me to make sure that every detail of our wedding was meticulously planned and executed. From the venue to the flowers, I wanted everything to be picture perfect. Plus, I wanted ample time to find the dress of my dreams and ensure that all my bridesmaids were on board with their roles and responsibilities. Additionally, I wanted to take the time to truly understand Adam's preferences and incorporate them into our special day, ensuring that it would be a reflection of both of us as a couple. I had all my girlfriends help me out, pick the venue and my wedding dress. Since all of us were from the same school, as teenagers, I and my friends used to talk a lot about the kind of guy we would marry and the details of the venue and the dress. I knew that we would be on the same level of excitement for all of this, and I needed all the positive energy around me. I was very excited about the wedding, which was now a month away. It had always been my fantasy to get married to the guy I loved at a destination wedding with all my friends as my bridesmaids. It was finally happening, and I could not ask for anything more in life. The anticipation grew as the big day approached, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for the support and love of my friends throughout the entire process. We had shared countless dreams and aspirations together, and now we were witnessing one of them come true. I was also very thankful to Adam for keeping my fantasies and desires in mind and not getting irritated with my over-enthusiasm with the preparations for the wedding. Adam wanted to give me a week's break before the wedding so that I could relax and pamper myself without stressing about the wedding. We flew out 1 week before the wedding to Miami. I checked into the hotel and went to my room. All of my girlfriends were waiting for me in the room to give me a surprise. They had decorated the room with balloons, streamers, and a banner that read, "Bride to Be." I was overwhelmed with joy and gratitude for having such amazing friends who went above and beyond to make me feel special. We spent the evening laughing, reminiscing, and indulging in delicious treats as we celebrated the upcoming wedding. It was the perfect start to my week of relaxation and pampering before saying I do. My girlfriends had organized a bachelorette party for me 2 days before my wedding. Adam was the only guy I had ever been with all my life. On the way to the club, my friends kept making fun of me for not trying to experiment or even try to consider having a little bit of experience with other guys before I decided to tie the knot. I always felt that I had been lucky that Adam was my first boyfriend, and I knew that he would never disappoint me. I did not have the need to find any other guys as he had everything that I wanted in the man I would be marrying. I was confident in my decision to marry Adam, as our relationship had always been fulfilling and loving. However, as my wedding day approached, a small part of me wondered what it would be like to have experienced other relationships. Nonetheless, I knew deep down that Adam was the one for me, and that our love was strong enough to withstand any doubts or curiosity. I trusted my instincts and believed that true love doesn't require comparison or exploration. The comments from my friends did make me wonder if I was missing out on something. Nonetheless, my unwavering love and satisfaction for Adam reassured me that I had made the right choice. The party was at a club that my friends had shortlisted, as it had the best bar and the perfect music. There were lots of drinks, and the music was just right. My friends wanted me to let go, as this would be the last time I would be able to have fun without thinking about the consequences. Initially, I was a little hesitant, but I felt a little bad for being a spoilsport, as they had put so much effort for me to have fun. So I decided that I should agree to their demands and have a little fun just for today. I ordered a round of tequila shots for everyone as a sign that I was agreeing to what they had planned for me. As the night went on, the atmosphere became more lively and carefree. The laughter and cheers filled the air, creating a sense of liberation. I let go of my worries and embraced the moment, realizing that sometimes it's important to indulge in spontaneous experiences without overthinking about the consequences. I wanted to show my friends that I could be fun and crazy and not be stuck up all the time. We went to the bar, and I ordered another round of shorts. As I was on my last shot, I felt a pair of unfamiliar hands on my back. I turned around and saw that it was a male stripper. I had asked my friends not to plan something wild and crazy like this. But my friends, being my friends, of course, did not listen to anything that I told them. The male stripper held my hand and took me to the dance floor. He started his sexy moves, trying to impress me. I decided to act as if I was enjoying myself and danced along with him. I tried to match his moves and be in the moment. He slowly made his way to the center of the dance floor and made me sit on a chair that was waiting for me. There was a spotlight on the chair, and everybody around me started cheering for me to take the seat. There was an announcement from the DJ to give it up for the soon-to-be bride. I did not want to ruin the fun, so I went ahead and took the spot I was supposed to. The stripper then started dancing around me and then gave me a lap dance. I was feeling all kinds of things in my stomach that I wasn't sure if it was because of the drinks or the lap dance. I told my friends that I needed some air and got out of the club. I puked everything that I had been drinking and was feeling much better. I went back inside and made my way to the bar. I was trying to ask for some water, but the bartender was too busy to even look in my direction. He was busy flirting with another girl. I was about to give up when I noticed a bottle of water placed beside me. I felt very unsure, as it might have been spiked. To my surprise, it was unsealed, so I opened it and drank. I was feeling so good after hydrating myself. I noticed that the guy on my right was looking at me with a smile plastered on his face. I gave him a very annoying look, as I knew guys always thought that it was easy to pick up girls at a bar. He said that usually in such situations people say thank you. I was not interested in talking to him and was about to go back to my friends when he asked if he could get his water back. I felt embarrassed that he was trying to help me, and here I was being very mean to him. I told him that I was sorry and I could make up for it. He said there was something I could do to make up for this mistake. I was genuinely feeling bad for judging him too quickly, so I agreed to make up for it. He asked me if I could spend some time with him and act as his girlfriend in front of his friends who were at the dance floor. I wasn't sure if he was making up stories just to get talking to me or he was really serious. I decided to see for myself and that it would be okay if it was true. I would just be helping someone in need. I agreed, and we went with him to the dance floor holding each other's hands. He pulled me by my hand and took me to where his friends were. He introduced me as his girlfriend, but nobody would believe him. They said that the only way they could believe that I was his girlfriend was if we kissed each other. At this point, things were getting really awkward, and it would be absurd for me to do something like kissing a stranger so spontaneously. I was trying my best to think of a way to get out of this situation, then even before I could realize, he kissed me. It was a very passionate and electrifying kiss. I could not stop myself from reciprocating it. I almost forgot that I did not know him. He looked at all his friends and told them if they would believe it now. They all looked satisfied that I was indeed his girlfriend. He excused us from them and said we were going to the bar for a few more drinks. He kept apologizing profusely for what he did back there, as he had no choice. He had to make sure that his friends stopped making fun of him for not having a girlfriend. I told him that it was not okay, but I understood where he was coming from. We ordered a few drinks, and he told me that it was on him for what he did just now. I wanted to refuse, but he was insistent. The DJ started playing one of my favorite songs, and I pulled him to the dance floor. We started dancing, and I'm not sure if it was the alcohol or the kiss that took over me. I started swaying to the beats of the song and whispered in his ear that he was a good kisser. He smiled at me and whispered very slowly in my ear if I wanted some more of it. I guess there was no harm in flirting with a stranger. I mean, we're never going to meet ever again in our lives. I would be married in the next 2 days, and he would be, I don't know, finding a girlfriend for himself. I thought there was no harm in being a little naughty, as today was all about letting go. I took my face very close to his lips and pecked his lips lightly. That was a cue to him, and he kissed me back very aggressively. There was something different about the way he kissed me that I could not get enough of it. After making out for a while, I realized that my friends might be searching for me. I told him to wait on the dance floor and that I'll be right back. I found my friends who were searching for me outside. I went to them and told them that I wasn't feeling too well and that I had to go home. I asked my friends if they had planned anything else that I would be missing. They told me that the stripper was the last thing that they had planned, so I was happy that I would not be ruining their fun. They asked me if they could help me get back to the hotel, to which I said that I would be fine. I knew I was being a bad friend by ditching them in the middle of a party organized by them for me, but they were not wrong in telling me that today would be the last day of my freedom. I could never be able to do anything as random as this ever again in my life. I hugged and thanked them for everything that they had done for me today, and also all help that they did with the wedding preparations. I was truly grateful to have such wonderful friends. I went to the dance floor and started looking for the guy I just met and kissed. I found him waiting for me at the dance floor just where I had left him. I pulled his hand and took him out of the club. Once we got out of all that music and noise, I asked him if he had a car. He looked at me with mischief in his eyes as if he understood what I was thinking. I told him that it's not what he's thinking. It's just that I wanted to get out of here. We got in the car and sat in silence for 1 minute. I was waiting for him to drive, but I don't know what he was waiting for. After about a minute, I looked at him with a puzzled face. He said that he was still drunk and cannot drive. I was about to get out of the car when he suddenly pulled me towards him and started kissing me. I tried to resist this for like 10 seconds, but he was so good that I just wasn't able to stop myself. He kept whispering sweet nothings in my ear that made me blush. He asked me to move to the back seat as it was more spacious. We moved to the back seat and started kissing each other again. We started undressing each other without breaking the kiss. After making out and being completely spent, we just hugged and lied down together. This was the wildest thing I had ever done. It had always been my fantasy to make out in a car. Adam had never been to the wild. He was always well-disciplined and a well-mannered gentleman. He never even allowed me to do anything stupid or crazy. What I did just now felt so right and so good that I forgot about everything else. After lying naked for a long time, we slowly got up and dressed ourselves. As I was about to get up and leave his car, he told me that I was the wildest person he had come across in his entire life. I could tell that he was a smooth talker who knows how to make girls blush. I thanked him for the compliment and decided to leave when he got up, came closer to me and kissed me again. Oh God. He was making it very difficult for me to leave. I just wanted to keep kissing him for a really long time. He knew he had that effect on me. He whispered in my ear that there was some motel nearby where we could crash for the night. Since he was drunk, he couldn't drive me home and would not like for me to go all by myself so late at night. He told me that he would be sober by morning and could drop me home then. I knew exactly where this was going, but I pretended not to and agreed to what he was saying. This was probably the last time I would be meeting him, as I really wanted to make the most out of tonight's situation. For me, it was like a sign from God to forget everything and enjoy it to the fullest. So we went to the motel and got out of the car and walked towards the room. We booked a room at the motel for the entire night. On our way to the motel, we bought a few bottles of beer to enjoy the night. We sat on the bed and there was an awkward silence. I decided to break the silence by opening a can of beer. I passed a can to the guy and we started drinking. I know that being sober would not help me to continue this. As we drank, we became a little more relaxed and started kissing each other. I could see that both of us would be blaming the alcohol in the morning for whatever happens tonight. We started making out again on the bed, which was much more spacious than the backseat of the car, to be very honest. I was enjoying the bed much better, as it had more room to access a lot of parts that I previously couldn't. We were making love and touching each other everywhere and moaning loudly. After some time, we got tired and just lied on the bed. I could not remember the last time I had so much fun having sex with Adam. I woke up the next morning to the sound of my alarm blaring in the room. I tried to find my phone, but everything looked so different and so new that I did not realize where I was. I finally found my handbag, pulled out my phone, and switched off the alarm. I sat on the floor trying to make sense of where I was. This was definitely not my hotel room. I tried to recollect the events from last night and looked at the bed. There was someone sleeping on the bed completely naked, and I had no idea who it was. I didn't realize that I was naked myself. Oh shit, did I just make out with someone I met yesterday at the bar? I don't even know his name. I wasn't that drunk that I don't remember what I was doing. I mean, I do remember what I did, but it was not like me to act this way. My head was spinning. I did not know if it was because of the hangover or the realization of what had happened last night. I started looking for my clothes, dressed myself, and slowly gathered my belongings, and rushed out of the room, making sure that whoever was sleeping did not wake up. It would have been too embarrassing if he woke up and started to have a conversation about last night. I definitely did not want him talking to me or to do anything with me. I was happy to get out of there unnoticed and without further complications. I got into a taxi and started making my way towards the hotel we were staying at. I pulled out my phone and saw lots of messages and missed calls from my friends and Adam. I was panicking right now, as I did not know how to handle the situation. Should I tell the truth or lie to them? It was my wedding tomorrow, and I knew for sure that I did not want the events from last night to affect my wedding in any way. I tried going through the messages from my friends. All of them just said that they were worried if I had reached the hotel as I was not answering their calls or replying to their messages. They did come and knock on the door, but I never answered. They were worried if I got sick right before the wedding. There was no sign of doubt from any of them that I wasn't in my room. That was a good thing. I sighed in relief. I then read Adam's messages that he came to my room in the morning, but I wouldn't open. He too was worried and wanted to make sure that I was okay. I looked at the time, and it was almost noon. Should I tell Adam that I slept with my friends because I was too drunk after the bachelorette party? Or should I just come clean to him about last night's events? I couldn't think straight as the hangover was killing me. I decided to first reach the hotel and then decide how things panned out. There was no use sitting in the car and panicking when I wasn't aware of the situation on the ground. I slowly sneaked into my hotel room, making sure none of my friends or Adam caught me. I quickly showered and got dressed. I called my friends and told them that I was pretty sloshed last night, so I couldn't answer any of their calls or texts. They were happy that I finally let myself out last night and had a good time. They told me that from tomorrow, I would have to be the proper and elegant wife of Mr. Adam Baker, and all of them laughed. I laughed along with them, mostly because I was nervous and guilty. Oh boy, did they know that I let go of myself and how. They would have fainted if I shared the details from last night. They wouldn't even believe me for a second, as they never saw me with the guy. Well, it was a good thing for them not to know. They might blurt it out during the wedding and mess up everything. I made my decision not to tell a single soul about last night. After dealing with my friends, it was now time to deal with Adam. I took a deep breath and made my way to his room. He opened the door and let me in. I told him the same story that I told my friends. Of course, if I was going to lie, then I might as well keep it consistent. I didn't want to get caught up in my own lies. We all then gathered for the dress rehearsal. As I walked down the aisle, I saw Adam standing at the aisle, and standing beside him was the best man. There was a look of horror on my face when I saw the best man. He was the guy from last night from the bar. He had an innocent smile on his face, as if he did not even recognize me. I composed myself and continued walking down the aisle. I had been a nervous wreck since I saw him here, of all the places in the world. Everyone kept asking me to relax and calm down, as they thought it was wedding jitters. They had no idea the amount of panic I was in right now. As I stood at the altar, I couldn't help but wonder if he remembered our encounter. The memories of last night flooded my mind, making it hard to focus on the joyous occasion unfolding before me. I silently prayed that he wouldn't say or do anything to disrupt the wedding, desperately hoping that my secret would remain buried in the depths of last night's hazy escapades. From the look on his face, it didn't seem like he remembered anything, and neither did he make any attempts to try and tell Adam about last night. I finally relaxed my body and decided to enjoy the moment. After all, it was my wedding that I had planned for an entire year. After the dress rehearsal, I breathed a sigh of relief and went to my room. I locked myself and fell to the ground, releasing all my nervousness. My friends kept knocking at the door to check on me. I showed them in when they asked me if I was fine. I looked very pale and nervous throughout the entire event. I lied to them that I still had a hangover and did not completely sober up. Maybe if I rested a bit, I would feel better. Of course, I was not going to tell them anything from last night. I decided not to mention it to anyone. If no one knows, then no one will talk about it. Simple and effective. After they left, Adam came to my room and asked me if everything was okay. He joked, asking me if I was having second thoughts about the wedding. I pushed him away and told him not to joke around, and as per the rules, he was not allowed to come to my room. I pushed him out of the room, telling him that I would see him tomorrow at the altar. There was a knock again, and I knew it would be Adam, so without any hesitation, I opened the door to tell him to just go. The blood drained from my face when I saw the guy from the bar. I looked around and quickly pulled him inside. I did not want things to get out of hand at the very last minute. I made him sit and begged him not to tell anybody about last night. I explained that it was a mistake and that I was engaged to Adam and it was my bachelorette last night. Desperation filled my voice as I promised to make it up to him somehow, pleading for his understanding. The guy from the bar seemed taken aback by my sincerity, his expressions softening as he listened. Hoping he would keep my secret, I anxiously awaited his response, praying that he would agree to remain silent about our encounter. After a minute, he told me that he had known Adam since childhood. He was also Adam's best man tomorrow in the wedding. I was half relieved that maybe he would not open his mouth about this if he cared about his friendship with Adam. He told me that he would, but he also told me he could not ignore what he felt with me last night. He kept pressing me, asking if I had not felt the same chemistry and sparks that he did. I could not deny the fact that there were definitely sparks last night, but it could also have been because of the alcohol. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to respond. The connection we shared was undeniable, but I couldn't ignore the potential consequences it could have on my wedding day. I told him that I truly loved Adam and would do anything that I could to make sure that our wedding goes smoothly without any complications. He said that then there was nothing else he could do if I had made my decision. He would have to agree to my wishes. I breathed a sigh of relief. He then stopped and said that he wasn't gaining anything from it. I mean, I would marry Adam just like I wanted to. Adam would not know about our encounter, but what was he getting out of all this? I was trying hard to explain to him that he would be gaining Adam's friendship for his entire life. He did not look convinced. He asked me again if I was willing to do anything for him to keep it a secret. I vehemently nodded my head in agreement. He came very close to me and whispered that he always had a fantasy to have sex with the bride as the best man. I gasped in shock and took a step back. He smiled wickedly and said that we just had to continue with where we left off from yesterday. It would not be that difficult. He also added that he was a little too drunk to enjoy last night, and it was a good thing that he was sober now. He said that this was the only way, or else he would be going straight to Adam's room after this. I felt like I had been pushed to a wall and had no choice. I made him promise not to tell Adam about any of it. I reluctantly agreed to his demand. He came towards me, and we passionately started kissing each other. To my surprise, I knew that he was blackmailing me into doing this, but I was actually enjoying it. He was a really good kisser. Within minutes, we undressed and were on the bed. We had wild sex, and now that I was in my senses, I could tell that this was by far the best sex I had so far. After we were done, I quickly covered myself and asked him to leave. I opened the door to make sure that there was no one around before asking him to step out. It was D-Day. I was all nervous and felt like I would cry even if the slightest thing went wrong. Everyone kept telling me that I looked very pretty all dressed up. My mind was thinking, what would Adam be doing, and would his best man keep his promise? Every time someone would come up with an update, I would jump expecting that it could be the news of the wedding being called off. It was finally time for me to walk to the altar. I could see Adam well-groomed and with his best smile looking at me, and then my eyes looked at his best man, who winked and gave me a wicked smile. I decided to focus entirely on Adam as it was our big day, and I did not want anyone to ruin it for us. We took our vows and finally were pronounced husband and wife. Hey you all, I ask you for your advice on what I should do going forward. It is now 1 week since my wedding with Adam, but the guilt is killing me. I had no clue that a random night with a random stranger would change the course of my life. One day, he was a stranger, and the next day, he was my soon-to-be husband's best man. Life could not get any more complicated for me. Should I just admit everything that happened between me and the stranger to Adam? At least I can ask for forgiveness for my sins and promise that I would never ever let this happen again. Would that be enough? I don't want Adam to know from somewhere else about this, and I want to be the first person to break this news to him. Would I be risking my marriage, which is just a few days old, by telling him the entire truth from that night? Please, I really need you guys to advise me, as I am unable to make up my mind as to what to do next. What would be best for me, and also at the same time try to cause as little damage to my relationship with Adam? I am eagerly awaiting your opinions and thoughts.